Hello music lovers, welcome to episode 57 of What Makes This Song Special. The show where every week I take a song, I talk about what makes that song special to me, what does it remind me of, I tell a wee story about what the song reminds me of, what part of my life. Sometimes the stories are funny. Last week was a little bit of a kind of serious one. This week's a funny one, hopefully you find it funny. I'll talk a wee bit about the song, a little bit about the singer, and I'll then follow up with a part 2 on a separate episode, which I'll leave a link for, of me doing a cover version of the song, which of course today is Gnarls Barkley, Crazy, a great track. So today's story starts back in 2005. I'd started working as a full-time chef about a year before this, and it was the first time I'd taken a full-time job since I'd left school. For anybody who's watched bits and pieces before, I took a year out, a couple of years out, 3 years out, to do to follow the dream of becoming a rock star. And I'd done lots of part-time jobs whilst doing that, but this was the first one that I did a kind of full-time job. I'd become a bit jaded at this point with the whole chasing the dream life. I needed some stability, a regular income. The music industry wasn't good for my mental health. It was just unpredictable, unfair, and it was too many hopes and dreams and not enough actual substance. And I was sort of scared of fame and fed up feeling like I had to fulfill something to be happy. So I was just at this point in my life where I just wanted a normal life for a while, and I'd taken this job in hope of a normal existence, and it was like a chef as a kind of restaurant inside a sports club, and within 6 months of me starting there, everybody above me had walked away, and I was running this place sort of temporarily until they found new management for the kitchen. They needed a head chef and a sous chef, and I was basically just running the kitchen without anybody in the management team seeming to make any progress towards finding somebody to replace the head chef or the sous chef who had left. So meanwhile, I managed to get my brothers a job, a couple of pals, part-time jobs in the kitchen to sort of help me out. And we'd all worked as sort of part-time chefs in other places before, so I was able to just give them all tasks to do, try and run this place while they brought it, or while I waited for them to bring in somebody to run it properly. And yeah, the banter and the madness that ensued was incredible at that time. It was really good fun. And to cut a long story short, after dozens of failed interviews to find somebody to take over, the general manager walked in one day and said, "You might as well interview for the job. You've been running the kitchen anyway." And I remember being kind of taken aback because I'd never really even thought about or considered applying for the job, just because, one, I didn't really want it, and two, I didn't really see myself as a full-time chef. I didn't think I was ready for that position. It was kind of too stressful and too big a jump. But I had, as he mentioned, been running the place for a couple of months anyway. So, and I hadn't killed anyone, and the department was actually running quite well. So I thought, well, might as well do it officially, take a bigger paycheck for it. It would give me the chance to save up for an engagement ring, which was my kind of plan at the time for my then girlfriend, now wife of 15 years, Linz. So that was the plan. I thought, right, okay, I can have some more money, I can save up for an engagement ring, I can make plans in my life that are a little bit more realistic than the chasing the rock star plan. So I took it in my head thinking, I don't want this to be forever, but I'll take it for a while. And yeah, I first of all had to interview where I cooked the bosses a meal, spoke about how I'd make changes to bring in higher profit results, completely blagged it, didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but made it sound like I did. Good at talking, I've always been good at talking. And they went for it. My wage doubled. I had a secure, decent job for the first time in my life. And as I said, it wasn't what I wanted to do forever, but it would sort of help me get to where I wanted to for a couple of years or so. So fast forward a few months, and it's around March 2006, and I decided to take a break from trying to make it, as I was saying before, just a bit fed up with it all. A wee break from the music stuff. But when something calls you, it calls you. And everyone I took on, whether it was subconscious, whether it was, I don't know, but everyone who I interviewed and took on for a job in that kitchen seemed to be a musician. Everyone. And it was all we talked about. And of course, inevitably, a few of us ended up getting together, started working on some of my songs again. And there's another episode for the ins and outs of this era, and of course another song. But there's a great little story that sort of sums up my time in this kitchen. And it brings me to today's song. So I hired a kitchen porter one day. A kitchen porter's a posh way of saying somebody who washes the dishes, essentially. And I'm going to save his reputation and not mention his name here because it would be unfair. And he's actually a very successful guy now who's actually quite well known, quite famous in his own field of expertise. Very, very good. And however, at the age of 17, he was daft as a brush, the most gullible person I've ever met. And of course, this fed right into my cruel side. And as the boss at the point, and at this point, it was my job to keep morale high. And sometimes that meant that someone had to suffer for the rest of us to have our comedy. And I don't remember exactly how it came up in conversation, but there was a day where he was peeling eggs, boiled eggs, for me to make egg mayonnaise or something like that. And he asked me if I've ever found a chicken in one of the eggs when I've been cooking. And of course, very quickly my brain went into overdrive and my eyes lit up, and I looked to my young chef de partie, Andy Carr, who I'm actually mentioned in last week's episodes, who's now the bass player in Gun, to make sure that he'd heard. And I shot Andy a kind of look to let him know that I was up to something, just to keep his mouth shut. So I went straight into the evil mind was at work, and I immediately responded to his question with, well, you see, mate, if you look after the eggs when they're raw and you keep them warm, they can all turn into chickens. So he had this look in his face that gave me everything that I needed to know that he'd believe me. And he was like an excited little child, and he was like, "You mean we could hatch a newborn chicken from a raw egg in here?" And I was like, "Of course." I looked at him like he was crazy even to suggest it, to question it. I was like, "Yeah, of course we could." And that was the beginning of one of the greatest pranks that I ever played. It went on for weeks. He'd taken an egg out of the fridge, wrapped it in sort of blue rolls, like kitchen roll, essentially, like blue kitchen roll. And he put it in this shelf above the stoves where it was always warm, just above the cookers. And every shift that he was in for a couple of weeks, he would take it down and he would rub it. We would all try not to laugh. We were like trying not to break cover. It was really difficult. And we'd have to take turns leaving the kitchen to go and laugh outside in the corridor and come back in. I don't know how we managed to keep it going and keep straight faces, but a complete fluke happened as well, because he wasn't in one day and it was nearing Easter. And one of the waitresses, a girl called Ashley, she walked in one day with this little chocolate egg. And inside she had this little tiny yellow Easter chick inside it, made out of like what looked like pipe cleaner. Okay, and another eureka moment. It's just so bad. I still feel guilty about this. But another eureka moment for me crept in, and he actually wasn't in. And thank God for primitive camera phones, because the images weren't very good. They were kind of blurry. You know, remember like the first ever iPhones and things like that. I don't think it was even an iPhone. It was before an iPhone, but it was a rubbish picture. And we were all thinking, wow, these cameras are fantastic. But in actual fact, they weren't very good. Kind of blurry. And it was because of that bloody rubbish camera on whatever type of phone it was at the time. We broke an egg, a real egg, and we stuck this little pipe cleaner chick inside the middle, covered in egg white and egg yolk and broken shell, and we sent him the picture with, "Congratulations, mate, you're a dad." So we then gathered dozens of staff to wait, because he said he was on his way down, and he came out to see his reaction. In hindsight, it was one of the cruelest things that I could have ever done to somebody. It was heartbreaking when he came in and the entire kitchen erupted into fits of laughter that we'd been bottling up for weeks, and he was mortified, and he was when he realised that he was looking at, of course, a piece of pipe cleaner covered in yolk. And yeah, it was a master plan that we had executed to perfection. And as I said, the guy who fell for it shall remain nameless, but he was the one who introduced me to today's song. He came in one day, plugged in his iPod into the dock in the kitchen, and we listened to this song "Crazy" by Gnarls Barkley, and I was like, wow, this is a tune, such a tune. I mean, just I hadn't heard a song as good as that on the radio for so long, and it became a song that we listened to all the time in the kitchen, but it also became a cover for us in the band because, you play your own stuff when you're playing and you're writing songs and you're trying to make it as a singer-songwriter, a rock star, a pop star in a band, whatever it's going to be. You have that, kind of, you've got all of your own songs and you hope that people like them, but it's always good to throw in a cover version at a gig so that people can have something that they've heard before, something relatable, and you do your own take on it. And we'd done that so many times, but often with songs from the past that maybe not everybody was into, and we'd always been kind of looking for something current that we could do our own thing with, do our own spin on. When this became the song, we used this as our kind of cover song in amongst our own songs at many gigs. And it's such a great track, and people loved our version, and it just reminds me of that time. It's a time where I was stressed and I was fed up because it wasn't the job that I really dreamed of. And yet, looking back, to quote a lyric from the song, we were having the time of our lives. It was a great time. So yeah, Crazy, Gnarls Barkley. I'll talk a little bit about the singer, as I always do. CeeLo Green was the singer in Gnarls Barkley. Bags of soul in his voice. I mean, a perfect example of someone who sings in a light mix, which means there's a bit more head to chest ratio going on, I suppose, but able to get up super high without any seeming effort. And thanks to his ability to sort of enter the passaggio early and then keep some of the muscle in the sound, that nothing's lost. Not lots of power in terms of like volume, I would say, but plenty of soul and real effortlessness in his sound and a really beautiful tone. So yeah, kept that one short this week. So there we have it. That's what Crazy by Gnarls Barkley takes me back to. It takes me back to a time of working as the head chef in a kitchen where I really wasn't ready for, full of brothers, best pals, playing pranks, preparing to propose to my wife, dreaming about the future, and yeah, just crazy times. So there you go. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please click here or here wherever the cover comes up, my cover of Gnarls Barkley, Crazy. I'll be here next week with another song. Until then, please subscribe, hit the like button, share. I really want to get to the 1,000 subscribers soon. Apparently that's when things start to avalanche a little bit more and YouTube start to, help, what's the word? Recommend you and your music and your videos to other people. It'd be great to get these videos out to more people. So if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another story and another song. Thank you.